stand as one in Lagelu and the street, our network in the street. ICAN's guiding lights, we pave that way. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. We are Lagelu and the street, standing tall as one. With unity and strength, our journey has begun. Integrity, accuracy, guiding us each day. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. We lift each other up and we drive in Lagelu and the street. Every voice is said. Together we stand, our bond is strong. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. We are Lagelu and the street, standing tall as one. With unity and strength, our journey has begun. Integrity, accuracy, guiding us each day. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. Our beacon of light, never dimming, Lagelu and the street, guiding us forward. Believe in the power of collaboration of every member, one shines through. We are Lagelu and the street, standing tall as one. With unity and strength, our journey has begun. Integrity, accuracy, guiding us each day. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way.
In Lagelu and District Society, we unite, we collaborate, and we thrive.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Lagelu and District Society of ICAN, where we unite, collaborate, and thrive. Permit me to call on our chairman, Chief Mrs. Omokemi Olufunke Oladipo, FCA, for our welcome address. Madam Chairman, over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Temitayo. And I want to also greet the coordinator today, Mr. Tunji. You are doing great. Thank you very much. I'm so excited this evening, and I want to especially welcome our council members on the call. I want to say thank you for joining the call. I would like to also welcome my other chairmen of other district society. Thank you very much for joining the call. We appreciate you for this. And also want to welcome the past chairmen, other past chairmen that are on the call. Thank you for joining this call. Also, thank you very much, our other members from other district societies. We appreciate you for joining this call and believing in us. I want to especially appreciate the executive members of Lagelu and District Society. Thank you for the good work you are doing. May God bless you. The technical committee team, you are the best. Thank you very much for packaging this and putting things together to work. And thank you very much, all other professional colleagues. We appreciate your presence on the call. Well, we all know that the issue to be discussed today, cybersecurity, is very important because of the new the digital world that we are in today. And it has become so paramount that we need to protect our data and information. And how to go about all of this is what we're about to learn. It is also more important because we need to protect confidentiality, integrity, and we need to ensure availability of our information at all times. So I want to especially thank members of ICAN and especially Lagelu and District Society for the dedication to the profession and for finding time to attend this beautiful webinar. This is about the third free webinar we'll be having in Lagelu and District Society, and we thank God for the success so far. I also want to specially recognize the hard work of my professional colleagues that are putting this together and all my executive committee. Thank you very much for the good work you are doing. May God continue to bless you. Well, we know that cybersecurity is important, like we're saying, and we need to learn the new strategies, the trends, and the impact it's having on our businesses, organizations, and even as individuals. So let us stay tuned, let us participate, let us listen with rapt attention as our special guest speaker will be taking us on this topic. And besides, I would like to specially welcome and acknowledge our guest speaker, Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo, ACA, ACTI, MBA, and so many other professional qualifications he has. I won't be able to mention all of them now, but paramountly is the past president of ICAN, Ibadan chapter, and that's a big one to him. So I know he's somebody that is in the best position to carry us through this particular topic. And well, I would like to also appreciate our members and then to let them know that it is very important to share knowledge and experience in order to foster growth, innovation, and collaboration, okay? And this is going to help us to acquire more skills and even knowledge in our workforce. And it will, of course, help us to be able to solve more problems along the line. So knowledge acquisition is not a waste in any way. So I want to truly welcome everyone to this program. And then we appreciate your attendance. Thank you for coming to Lagelu and District Society. Thank you for joining the call. And this is where we unite, collaborate, and thrive together. God bless you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your kind words. Permit me to introduce to you facilitator for today. He's a subject matter expert. He's a renowned speaker. He has traveled far and wide to present on topics such as cybersecurity, risk management, and all that.
Meet Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo, a seasoned expert in cybersecurity, risk management, data privacy, and forensic auditing. With over 20 years of experience, he has become a leading authority in safeguarding financial data in today's digital world. As a renowned CICA subject matter expert, he has spoken at global conferences across Kenya, Ghana, Zambia, the United States, and Nigeria, shaping conversations on digital trust, emerging risk, and financial data security. He is the past president of the ICAN Ibadan chapter and a sought-after facilitator at First Bank Training Academy, ICAN, Financial Institutions Training Center, and other top consulting firms. Currently, he serves as Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer of Past Project Resource and Consult Limited, Principal Consultant at Clefride Global Concept, and the co-founder of Clinic Tech Limited. With standing ovation, make welcome Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo.
Mr. Omonijo, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from the anywhere in the world. My special appreciation to Lagelu and District Society presidents, the technical committee, the other executive members of the board of Lagelu and District Society. Protocols already established. I observe and I say thank you for joining us all in whatever capacity you are joining us. I'm delighted to be here, and I believe we'll have a blast of a session. Thank you very much. There is a saying in the cybersecurity space that you can only protect what you are aware of its existence, and you can only secure what you understand how it operates. So what we're trying to do today is to fill some of the gaps about what we need to be aware of, and also what we need to understand how it operates, so that we can have a protected digital experiences at every time and at every touch point. So you're welcome to this program, Protecting Financial Data, Cybersecurity Best Practices for Accountants. We say it's for accountants, but it's actually also for life, for everyday living, because whatever, you cannot give what you don't have. If you don't own it as a person, even in your role as an accountant, it may be difficult for you to bring it out. So I will say it's cybersecurity best practices first for us as individuals, then for us in the roles that we play as accountants and in everyday living. We will try to make sure that we what do we mean by cybersecurity, and how do we plug it to protecting financial data. Then we'll try to understand cybersecurity threats, especially as it relates to the accounting profession. What are those cybersecurity best practices that accountants should be aware of? Are there compliance and regulatory dimensions to cybersecurity? We'll try and look through that. What are the proactive measures that will help one, starting from ground zero, to build a cybersecurity culture, a cyber-safe environment, and a cyber-aware community where we work? Then we will take conclusions, question and answers, and our takeaways. So as accountants, we play critical role in safeguarding sensitive financial information. The key there is that not all information is expected to be available to all. There are some that are sensitive by virtue of the nature of those information. So accountants need to understand that when we categorize information, the open and public, the one that is open to everybody, the ones that are restricted, then the one that is maybe confidential. So what do we do around each of these things? We'll try and see how that should play out for a typical accountant. However, cyber threats are increasingly targeting accounting firms. When cyber activities happens around accounting firms, what they have that goes towards making up the final reports, the final accounts that is published, all the wallpapers could become what is freely available, which shouldn't be anyway, such that you can open them up for possible reputational and legal action. So those are the reasons why, as we introduce technology into the fray of activities that we do, as we move away from the traditional ways of running accounting that as a practice, or the way we run it in organizations, we need to become more sensitive to what we share in the area of data, how we share it, and who we share it with. So this session will cover these essential cybersecurity best practices for accountants. Some of these cyber threats, they are common: phishing, ransomware, BEC, business email compromise, then protecting the data, the client data, when they are released to us. If we need to use technology to analyze them, we need to do something called anonymization or pseudonymization. That's encryption. So that, you know, what you don't own, you cannot seek legal redress for any breach around it. For instance, the free version of ChatGPT, if you use it and you put company sensitive information, because you want to use that machine to analyze if one way or the other the thing becomes you know, leak into public space, because it is free, you cannot seek for redress. So we'll talk about encryption when we use other utility, other applications to add value to what we need to do as accountants, or even when we are sending, if our email system is free, it's subject to hack or to breaches. So we look at encryption, very critical around data, access control, principle of least operational privilege. People need to know something or need to know, need to have, need to use basis. Then backup in the event. So we'll talk about recovery time objective, recovery point objective when issues happen. Then how do we secure even the accounting system, the application, if we operate in an environment where there's a core application apart from the normal Microsoft Office. Even Microsoft Office had an issue recently, the black screen challenge. That's also by the time we have more information about that, it will also be a way of hacking that makes, you know, cut people away and get information out into an environment, possibly into wrong hand or into some other hands. We look at updates. Should we really, when the OEMs, the official equipment manufacturer or the application supplier says we should run updates, do we ignore them or do we run them? Microsoft has been telling us that Windows 10 from October of this year will no longer receive support. Are we ignoring it? What are we? We'll look at those things, those little things in our space that that gives a way for safe cybersecurity practices, then patches and vulnerability management. We also look at employee education. You know, every organization is made up of the people, the process, the technology, and the organization itself. So the most critical of these factors is the people side of it. You know, a system is said to be as strong as its weakest link. So if somebody is in the environment that is careless with the way it relates to cybersecurity expectations, it can become the gateway by which breach can happen. So employee education and awareness, training of staff to recognize and respond to cyber threats. Then when cyber breaches happen, let's assume, you know, there's a saying also in cybersecurity that it is a question of when, not if at all, because there is no system in the world that is foolproof, that is hardened proof, that is completely safe, that cannot be hacked. It's just that if the guys who are always several steps ahead, the bad guys, if they don't see it as something of value, that's when it will appear as if safe. Otherwise, no system is completely 100% safe when we talk of digital space. So when breaches happen, what is the best way to respond to it? How do we even plan for it? How do we respond to it? And we also look at if they happen, now that we even have a law around data protection in Nigeria, what are we supposed to do? Because the law also expects us to report breaches, especially where subject matter, where the data subject is involved. You know, if there are breaches in our environment, we are duty bound to notify the data subject that such has happened. And depending on the kind of data that is open in the breach, we may also be required to notify the data protection authorities around this. So these are some of what we'll be talking on here and there as we take each of the domains. The learning objective is to be in a position to identify common cyber threats that could target us as individuals and by extension, our firms, whether accounting or otherwise, and possibly that could target our clients. And also be in a position to implement best practices that can protect client data and can secure our accounting systems. Also develop employee education and awareness programs that can prevent cybersecurity breaches. Be in a position to create an incident response plan adequate to respond to cybersecurity issues and incidents when and if they do happen. Then understand compliance and regulatory requirements for cybersecurity in firms, accounting firms in this wise, as we are particular about this segment in today's session. So now, what I've said technically is why cybersecurity matters. And to the accountant, it's significantly important because accountant deals with financial data. They deal with data, financial data. And some of these data, they don't own it. They come into for those who are in practice now, they come into custody of this data by virtue of the relationship that they have with the clients. And they have this relationship with several clients. So because we deal as accountants, we deal with sensitive financial information such as client financial record, tax returns, payrolls, you see, corporate accounts, all of which are high value targets for cyber criminals. We may not have had a lot of breaches around accounting firms here, but in developed environments, they are a very strong target for the bad guys to have information on so that they could extract value. So it matters to us because we deal with sensitive financial information, especially client records around tax, around payroll, around their financial corporate accounts, and all the rest that we use to form an opinion upon which the public or whichever stakeholders can rely. So while we are in custody of those things, what are some of those best practices that we need to start looking at? Even for those of us who are in organization, within our organization, this will also apply, because in the organization, it's not everybody that is in the accounts department. The accounts department, by virtue of what they do, should also be like a secluded unit, because some of what you generate, some of them are just for management information only, not for general public information. So that means even within the accounts department of organization, there are cybersecurity practices that we should also, so that the cleaner don't just go around, you have something on your table, and he just use his eye or use his phone to scan it. And before you know, sensitive information is out there. So what we'll be looking at is, even for the people who are accountants in organization and firm, who are not, if we are not talking about practice now, there's something we also call clear screen, clear desk. Information that you are not currently using shouldn't be, your desk should be clean at any point in time. It should be, it's also a cybersecurity practice. People, maybe the cleaner, the office assistants, people from other departments, from other units, if they have reason to come to your office as the accountants in the accounts department, they shouldn't be having access to all the sensitive information that you may be working on your table. So if you are not, if you have somebody with you, the idea is that you close whatever you are doing. Then for your screen, clear desk, clear screen, you lock your screen, engage that person. Then if you need to bring out something to interact with that person, you open that one, only that aspect of your activity, so that that person can have access to what he needs to do. The idea is that the framework for that is called PLOP, which is Principle of Least Operational Privilege. It's also a cybersecurity principle that people need to have access to information, financial data, whichever data, on the basis of need to know, need to use. Whatever they need to have for them to carry out what they need to carry out is what they need to have part time in all situations. So whether we are in practice or we are in employment, today's training and aptly, applies to what we do. What are the consequences? Why cybersecurity matter for accountants is because there are consequences for data breaches. We could talk of financial loss. If the guys who kidnap who ransomware the data wants to have a reward, until you pay, you may not be able to have access to those data again. Legal penalties, we may to penalties and to some other legalities. Disruption to business operation, why the breach happens. If it doesn't lock all of us out of the system, if it locks all of us out of the system, we need to now find a way to, if we have a fallback plan, to restart the backup plan, or to negotiate with whoever is launching the attack and meet whatever demand they are asking. Whatever the case, while that is on, we may have some slight disruption to our business operation, and theft of client information. Then the ultimate of it is that it can also lead to reputational damage. You know, if Fidelity was just slammed with about 551,000 fine by the Data Protection Commission of Nigeria for data breaches. You know, some other people who are sensitive may feel, if my data is not safe with this bank, why do I need to bank with them? So reputational damage, there's no amount of effort that is too much for us to prevent experiencing breaches, especially breaches that may lead us to report ourselves to the public that we are careless, we are not sensitive enough to protecting what has been entrusted into our care. Because that is some of what that message, if breaches happen in our environment, those are some of the messages that people external to us may be taken away about us. So those are the consequences, and these are why cybersecurity best practices matters for accountants. Well, let us see, you know, like I said at the beginning, that you can only protect what you are aware of its existence. So with that saying, let us see how best we can understand cybersecurity threats in our space. Either we are in practice or we are in employment. Let us move on. Some of the common threats is threats that targets the individual. And the most basic of it is the phishing. Okay, so the most common is phishing, just like trying to go to the river to catch fish with your bait, with your hook, and with your worm that you put as a bait to bring the fish to pick. It's the same thing. They just changed the name. They put it P-H-I-N-G. Fishing is still the same way. The same fishing for people who are familiar with a rural environment where you take your line, there's a hook, and you look for some worms or some fish or some meat. You put it and you bring up a fish. So this is the most common for every individual, accountants inclusive. And how does this method works? It is to trick people to giving up sensitive information through fake emails or fake websites that may seem legitimate. Now, some of us may be saying, but I don't, our own organization, our website is, the IT teams they're on top of what they do. Yes, if your organization has some value that the bad guys feel they could invest in the effort to attack you, they will spoof. That means they will create a website that is looking exactly like your own to pick some of your traffic and get sensitive data from them. So that means, as your organization, if you are on the digital space and you have a website, you must also keep watching out. Are there other websites? Because, you know, the way the domain registration does, you know, the way they handle it, there can only be one www. For instance, zenithbank.com. You can't have www.zenith-bank.com because it will be too close. It can mislead people. So your IT also needs to occasionally check for your website. Are there other websites? If you Google your website, does it bring anything close to your website? Because those are the way, you know, the idea is that they will create a website that appear to look like the legitimate one. The only difference is that it will be HTTP. It won't be HTTPS. And that can lure people to think they are dealing with the right environment. Meanwhile, they are dealing with a fake website. Why do we need to understand this? The idea is that even as individuals, we may fall prey to it. You know, that's why I said what we are treating today is first of all for us, because you can only give what you are aware, what you have. You can't give what you do not have. So the training is basically for us as individuals first, to be able to identify what is fake, what is a clone, what is not real, what is a spoof, or what is a fake version of the original. When we understand that, then if we find ourselves in an environment where our job is, you know, relating with some website for us to be able to do transaction, we will know what to look out for. So phishing is either through a fake email, they can target your email and send information as if it appears as if. Recently now, there's something I was reading about 2 or 3 days ago, that in Nigeria was arrested in Germany for about $158,000 business email compromise, and that it got a Singaporean company to, he sent an email, he hijacked their critical email, officials email, and started sending requests to other partners that they should send money to a UK account. So why US is involved? The Nigerian guy was arrested in Germany, but they've extradited him to US because some of US clients suffered loss in that business. And we also, when we'll talk about that when we get to business email compromise. So the idea is that if your email, if what your organization is using is free, you will be seeing a lot of mails that you don't know how they were targeted at you. If you use Gmail or Yahoo Mail, there is a place called spam. You can go and understudy some of the mails that you have there. You know, Google also have a system that helps you to some extent to look at some mail that, this guy is not in your contact. Why should he be sending mail to you? They put it in spam. So, or for instance, if somebody is sending mail to you for the first time and it's not recorded on your listing, the system will say, you've never gotten an email from this person before. You put it in spam. Now, before the system will delete, I know for some system, for Google, 30 days, the system automatically deletes whatever is there that you have not responded to. You can go and check some of those emails. It will also give you an understanding how fake emails are crafted. So nearly everybody here as accountants, we have been targets of it, because hardly will you see anybody's email, especially Google, in the spam. You will see something there. And those are people who are actively targeting all of us individually. If they now know that you occupy a very crucial office, you are a special target. So phishing is trying to trick you into giving up sensitive information, either through fake email or through fake website. So an accountant received an email appearing to be from a client asking for urgent financial information. And some of these things, that's why I brought in a framework, that principle of least operational privilege. When we share information, for instance, if we are in an open office, we should also be careful how we just shout out information. Please, our customer that is that customer that's our biggest customer with 500 million turnover. Please help me bring it. You know, if you shout that over the space, you've also released needless information into the space that that could become what some people can take to beer parlor, and from there, bad guys can start targeting. I know that man. Also, he's the one who said that thing in the office. Okay, let's see if we can trick him into falling into someone. So we also must manage communication. If we have a chat system, use chat rather than shout over the open space if we are in an open space environment. So phishing emails, and how do we spot them? Let me see. I think I have some examples here. But if all of us open our Gmail, then we don't need to go far. Let all of us do that exercise now. Open your Gmail. If it's possible for you, go to spam. You have enough representation there just to show you how close by these things are around us. Let us quickly look at that. I also have an example here, but I want to use what we have. If you open spam, SPAM. For me now, I have 30 in my own spam. Some of them may be genuine, but you see several other. What they are just after is that's phishing. So your phishing net, naturally, if you have a Gmail, is what you have in your spam. I also have some examples here. Let me see. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Let me know if you can see my screen, please.
Yes, we can.
I have some examples that I've gotten here. I want us to study it a little. You know, like I said, the first thing I said was that you can only protect what you are aware of its existence. So now you know that you have always been targeted with cyber, with phishing emails, because I've opened mine now, and if we were to make this floor open, I know nearly everybody will have something inside their spam. It doesn't mean that everything that is there is phishing, but you have representation there. That shows that we are constantly under attack. Now, let's look at this. The first one says, important update regarding your union membership. What they do is they always make what they are sending look very important. Those are some of the, because I want this class to be very practical as much as possible. You can see important updates regarding your union membership. It came from that to you, important update regarding your union membership. The first thing is there is always an urgency around their mail. That's one. The second is, you see, they created another site that they said, visit Australia Fisher Union.this. That's a fake website. The third one is they put a fake link there. And the fourth one is they say it's a service update, as if you do not do it, you are going to lose something. And the same, if we also look at the other example that I have here. This one is about password assistance. This person has not reset his password. So if you reset your password, be careful. Especially around WhatsApp, you will see that even another tool around us that is crucial to us, which is WhatsApp. If you change your phone or you take your phone to people to repair for you, you are open to, you will see password reset, especially around your banking app, or they try to take over. So the guys who are into this business and profession, they are everywhere around us, technically. In fact, I will always say, if you have cause to do anything on your phone, maybe by way of repair or anything, it's very important that you don't drop it, because they can pack everything that is inside your phone and create a copy of it. The charger they put in your phone, as if they want to help you charge it, can become a transferring medium to take data away, sensitive data, that they will go and mine and determine which one they want to work on. So where the threat is real, not necessarily whether we are in a fully technology environment or we use limited number of technology. The fact that we use phone even makes us, the phone is an attack point if it has issues and we need to surrender it. So that's about phishing. These are other ones. It can also come by text. Phishing can come through text. Let's see this one here that we have here. It said, hey, my name is Sue. I specialize in achieving 95% and higher in billing. I can save you money. What is best email to send you information? This one is asking you to send an email so that you can take the engagement environment where you can to ask for sensitive information. Those are some of what I have there. But for all of us, if we check through our Gmail accounts, if we have Gmail in your spam, any mail that you can't remember why that mail should come to you is a potential phishing email. Though the Gmail system deletes this for us every 30 days. I think it keeps it for 30 days and deletes it automatically. The next type of attack that all of us can be open to, not only accountants, but we are limiting it to accountants today, is what I call ransomware. Ransomware is a malicious software that can lock you as a user out of your system. Then the remaining data behind the system, they encrypt it. You can access it in open view. Either they demand a ransom to unlock it. So ransomware is like kidnapping, but it's a digital version of kidnapping. where the person or a particular resource or tool that you need to use, you no longer have access to it. And before you can, I think this one happened to, sorry to use this, it happened to Bed Niger sometimes in 2023, that people who had to relate with them. In fact, their website was saying blank, that they are already being attacked. And I learned that they paid quite a huge amount of money to restore service. That's ransomware. So this can also happen if your organization gets to become something of value that the bad guys feel that if we kidnap this organization and carry out this threat successfully, we will make money. So ransomware is malicious software that lock users out of their system or encrypt your data. And as they encrypt it, you must pay. The only way you unlock that thing is that value. At times they will not ask you for Bitcoin. They will ask for, that's why Bitcoin, crypto, most governments is saying crypto not allowed, because it is a wide space for collecting ransom. So unfortunately, a ransomware infection usually doesn't show itself until you see some type of notification, either in a window, an app, or a full screen message demanding money to regain access to your PC or to your files. They commonly use difficult to trace digital currencies such as PaySafeCard, Bitcoin, or other cryptocurrency for the ransom, making tracing and prosecuting the perpetrators very difficult. In fact, there are state actors, countries like Russia, North Korea, Iran. They have budget, to attack sensitive organizations, knowing fully well that if their attack succeeds, those people will, because there is value that they have kidnapped or ransomed or ransomware, the value will exchange. So states like Russia, so if you see anything coming from Russia, from North Korea, be very careful. In fact, most Nigerian banks, they are whitelist. You see, those countries are permanent blacklist. They don't want traffic from there, either through VPN or whatever. They have technology that help them to filter those traffic, so that traffic does not come from those state sponsors of terrorism, especially cyber terrorism or cyber security terrorism, if you can use that one. So now, ransomware is, how does this apply to accountants? Well, I don't think we have gotten to that stage yet, but I believe if things will continue to get challenging in the country, because the guys who are in this industry, the other industry of attacking or hacking, there's nobody they can target, and that's why this training is important for us to get, so that we can understand what are some of those threats, even though we may not have experienced them. If we hear that it's some environment experienced it, let's go and research how did it happen, what could we do in our environment to prevent it. If you hear that something is happening in an environment, especially in the cybersecurity space, do not assume that it can happen in your own environment. Take the lessons away from it, and see and use those lessons to mirror your environment to see if it could also happen. Because more often than not, for some of these attacks to really succeed, there are always internal perpetrator, internal agents that is working with the external guys to make it happen. That's the case we always have in the banking industry. And we need to also understand this. So ransomware is another cybersecurity target. What it does is that it can halt financial reporting, it can halt payroll, tax filing. It's just that here in Nigeria, some things, especially around tax filing, if we have that as part of our engagement, and clients have paid us to be able to have that done for them, because there are ways and there are means here that we can use to solve things. But in developed world, where some of these things, if you don't do it on a particular day, it's a serious issue. So if an organization has been, attacked with a ransomware that is not allowing it to have access to the information that it could use to either do payroll or do the tax filings that should be done on a particular day, you could see that can have a critical implication for such an organization. Like I said, the other threats, cybersecurity threats, the accountant need to be aware of is insider. Just like I mentioned this, but it's also a class on its own. Insider threats occur when employees or vendors, you know, if you have vendors that work with you on projects and you release sensitive data that client has released to you, client may not even be aware that you are using vendor to process those data further. They can misuse it either intentionally or accidentally, opening you up. So you need to understand. That brings us to the second part of what I introduced the training with, that you can only protect what you are aware of is a system. And the other one is that you can only secure what you understand is operation. So if you have vendors working with you as an accounting practice that work on client data on your behalf, you want to really supervise them to make sure that you're releasing those sensitive financial data to them cannot become, you know, cannot boomerang to come and haunt you when they misuse it. So the insider as a threat is permanent and it's always available. And it's always around us. So an employee can download sensitive client information into a personal device. Those personal devices can be stolen later. When they are stolen, information is in public space. So if you have employees that handle sensitive mission critical information for your clients, you want, if they use there's something called BYOD, bring your own device. If they use their own device for official duty, the same security that you have on your own device, make sure you implement it on those staff's device. Very important. If a staff is using his laptop for you, make sure that when there is an update, you are also updating his laptop. You are not doing him a favor, because it is a system that the patch is up to date, that all the update that you're supposed to do that is up to date, that you could talk of redress if there are issues that is as a result of the person who's supplying you the application. You understand? So if a staff is using his own device for official duty, and that staff happens to be in your mission critical aspect of your activity, ensure that you extend whatever you use to secure your normal assets to that asset, especially while the person is in your employment. And if possible, if you have insurance on some of the assets that you use, extend that insurance to that particular asset, so that when it is stolen, if you need to get a reparation or compensation, while the asset that the staff is using has sensitive information, you'll be able to see, at least you would have transferred some of your risk. So we should look at our staff very crucially in this area and be able to dimension who is in a mission critical area of our activity, that if a misuse or an accidental disclosure happens, can bring reputational challenge, if not financial challenge to us. We should find a way to understand the totality of our operations. That brings me back to that second saying, that you can only secure what you are aware of, how it operates. You must have an understanding how your operation is. And that means for most organizations, I know for a lot of small organizations, they don't have what we call job description. You know, if they have a particular staff, they draft that staff to nearly every activity. There are no, just like the multinationals have or structured organizations have. You know, an organization is actually called an organization because it's structured and it has an organizational chart. If your organization doesn't have an organizational chart, that means under insider threats, you run a very high risk. If the 5 staff that you have also does everything, you can't separate people in mission critical activity from those that are not in mission critical activity. Possibly what you want to do is to get them to sign a non-disclosure agreement with you, that in the course of, if it's not in their employment, you may need to go and review that, so that they can know that yes, in the course and pendency of what they do, they have access to sensitive client data, that happens because they have to work on that of that file. And because they have to work on that file, you may incorporate non-disclosure, NDA, non-disclosure agreement. You need to have it in your staff engagement forms when they send it to you. And if possible, you can also renew this regularly at the beginning of the year. In the banking industry then, because the banker-customer relationship is confidential. It can only be opened at the instance of a court order. So if there is no court order, all staffs every year on yearly basis, is part of the regulation, they force us to sign the oath of secrecy that yes, we can open any customer's account, we can have access to those things, because in the normal course of working, your job may make you to interface with those client information. So you can't get to beer parlor and say you have taken 2 or 3 bottles and you start talking, so Mr. Lagbaja, he has 4 billion in his account. No, that's a misuse of data. So I can't, under insider threats, let me just move on, but I believe I've given us enough tips for us to go and understand the operations in our environment and where are those areas where we are needlessly open, possibly by way in which we structure our operations. Actually, the idea when you talk of cybersecurity best practices is that people need to have access to information on need to know, need to use basis. Not any more, not any less. So let's move on to the next. Another type of threats that accountants will be faced with is what we call man in the middle. MITM, man in the middle, just like the name suggests. It's an attack where a hacker intercepts communication. Just like I said, if you're in an open floor and you just broadcast a sensitive information, maybe the person that needs it is at the far end of the open office. But there are several other people that shouldn't really have had access to that information. So if you don't use a communication medium that is safe and secure, maybe a chat, it could even be your WhatsApp, so that it's only him we have access and authorization to that information. You have created a man in the middle situation in your environment. The cleaner that you think, what can he do with it? You may not know. The office assistant, all those non-essential staff that you have in your organization, you need to manage information that what they hear or what they have access to is only what relates to what the job they do. And that's why you must understand, you must apply the principle of getting people to understand their job description. Then if it is a non-structured organization or entity, don't let me use organization, because the moment you have call something an organization, that means they have structures. People know exactly what their roles and responsibilities are. They are clear about their job description. So if your organization is not having clear job descriptions, clear understanding of what roles and responsibility are, you are a one-man business, that's just like an entity. The only protection you have is to make sure that your employees' engagement, you have a non-disclosure clause inside the engagement, that whatever information they come into, by virtue of being in this organization while they are here, they have access to it because they need it to be able to work, and no abuse or misuse of that will be tolerated. So otherwise, am I still audible?
Yeah, audible, sir. Thank
okay.
you.
So man in the middle, you can see I'm just trying to bring some of these principles to our level. So man in the middle, the easiest way that we create this kind of opportunity for an attack is when we shout information that we should pass encrypted or pass in a safe and secure manner. So the attacker goes to steal sensitive information such as password. Then we should, in our environment, we should not make people to share password, because it will make assigning responsibility when there are issues difficult. Everybody, as much as possible, even if they are using the same system, a system can allow you to have many users so that everybody save their record uniquely under their profile. So attacker go under man in the middle attack. Just like I said, it's an attack where a hacker intercept communication between two parties, often during financial transactions. The attacker's goal is to steal sensitive information such as password, financial details, or login credentials. Then if you are using a public Wi-Fi, be very careful. You know, if something is free and it's public, you are the product too. As much as possible, if you find yourself in an environment where, so be very wary in using Wi-Fi at airports, environments where they say they have free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi is not secure. If you must use it, don't use it for sense. Don't start doing sensitive things while you are there. It's very important because you may not know who is also plugged into that thing that is in. In fact, Wi-Fi is so easy to see. Whatever you are doing on your laptop, if you are on Wi-Fi, and it is not, you are not running it through a tunnel, through a VPN, virtual private network. You are open to, anybody can see what you are doing with little application and solutions. So if something is free, if you are working remotely and you are using a public and free Wi-Fi, be very careful because hacker can intercept your login details. If you must use those things, don't do sensitive financial transactions. Don't use them. That was the case in the Equifax data breach in 2017. Equifax is a credit history reporting company. They suffered a man-in-the-middle data breach. See the volume of customers' data that was exposed. 100 million customers' financial data was stolen. So for the fidelity issue in Nigeria, we don't know yet. The extent is not likely. You know, in this country, we don't really, the things that will help us to learn, we hide some of them, we find a way. But we know that they were fined 551 million. We may not have more details into the number of customers' financial data that is at the center of that breach. So man in the middle, here in this case, this threat is to steal sensitive information as your password, financial details, or login credential. They can also, man in the middle can also lead to email hijacking or WhatsApp hijacking. You know, if we take our phone, just like I said, my closest experience was there was a day I took my phone for repair at Challenge, and I just noticed that the guy plugged something that I wasn't comfortable with. By the time I got back to the office, WhatsApp has sent a code that somebody is trying to reset my WhatsApp. I just know that, okay, they have come. Since that time, I have not been able to enter my UBA app because you also want to reset my UBA app. So email hijacking or even WhatsApp hijacking can also happen under man-in-the-middle attacks. What do they want to do? They want to get control either of your email or of that WhatsApp to monitor your transactions. Man-in-the-middle, how it works for man-in-the-middle, hackers break into Wi-Fi network or router. You know, in your organization, if you also use a router, if you have somebody that is internal, you also break into it, such that there is something we also call keylogger. You know, in the banking industry, once the internal guy, the bad guy, identify the key, the head of operation, the people that authorizes big transaction, they plug something that is looking like a USB. It's called keylogger, so that they can harvest the password of those essential people. They will now go and use that password to authorize fictitious transactions. So hackers can break into Wi-Fi or into your router. They can impersonate party by spoofing a website. They exploit vulnerabilities in networks and devices, just like the one I mentioned about WhatsApp. Generate deliverable text messages. You know, they generate a text message. If not that I was sensitive enough about cybersecurity practices, maybe I would have released the WhatsApp code. And the moment you release your WhatsApp code, and that's why you must do 2FA on your WhatsApp. Let your WhatsApp also has an email attached to it, so that even if they want to hijack it, you will get a notification on the email. They can also impersonate voices. You know, man in the middle is somebody saying, I'm calling you, you just pick a call, I'm on the phone. I'm calling you from EcoBank. Your card will notice has expired, and we need you to do this and to do that. That's an impersonation. Is it really calling from EcoBank? Why will EcoBank call you for something that you may need to do to go to the office to achieve? So man in the middle, I'm just giving us several scenarios, the various ways in which we could empower them, or we could be open to the attack. And how does man in the middle work? I have a small picture here. What can they do with your information when they get it? They can make unauthorized purchases. They can hijack your financial accounts. They can steal your identity. Especially if you are in the ATM and somebody is saying, are you having a problem with your card? Oh, let me help you. You know, when you withdraw, now it knows your PIN. What they usually do is they usually have fake cards or cards that have expired. As they are trying to give you your card back, they will swap it. That's a man in the middle. It's not a staff of the bank, but it's hanging by the ATM. You understand? Because I've seen this happen. There was a particular person that lost 400,000 from this experience I'm telling you, in a particular bank in Akpata in Ibadan here. The person is pretending as if he's trying to help him. The woman, meanwhile, he has already spied the PIN. You know, it's just 4 digits. Some of them know as you are pressing the position of your hand, they can tell exactly what you are pressing. So he already has that. As he's trying to help the elderly person, say, okay, let me help you. How much do you want to withdraw? And he put it. The money came out. The first one will come out. But as he's trying to give the card back to the owner, he would have swapped it. So that's man in the middle. Just be careful. And before the man knows what is happening, they wipe away 400,000 from his account. They can hijack financial account. They can steal someone's identity, access or control a user's account, and breach an organization network. So this is the diagram for a man in the middle attack. The perpetrator is here. This is a user. He's trying to connect to this, just like this example of the ATM I've used. So this example I've given us, we can now take this example back to our various activity to understand where are the areas where we could be open for this kind of attack. So those are understanding cybersecurity threats. Personally as an individual, then in our role as accountants. The next one is cybersecurity best practices. What are some of the best practices? Now that we understand how some of these things can be carried out and the versions and manner in which they could be carried out, what are some of the best practices that accountants need to, imbibe? You need to have a strong password policy. The need for unique complex password, at least 12 characters, that will include letters. So don't just use a simple password. I will show you something that shows the number of minutes that they will use to hack your password if they harvest it. You need a unique complex password, at least 12 characters, including letters, including numbers and symbols. This cannot be overemphasized. You need to introduce password management tool if you believe your organization is big enough to have this, so that password management tool can store password securely and generate strong ones that people can now, it can suggest. Then it can also prompt people. If you also have a policy of saying people should change their password at least once in 3 months, people should not, when you write your password down, you keep it somewhere, it's no longer a password though. It's a general use access code. So then, as much as possible, I know for the financial sector, we try to make life easy. We create what we call SSO, that's single sign-on, so that one password will unlock several applications for you, rather than you having like 10 different passwords for 10 different applications. So we could also use, a password management tool will help you if you also need to use a single sign-on, so that when somebody uses one, it will, by that, it will open the whole enterprise resource environment to him, so that whichever application he needs to use, he can use it with that single sign-on SSO principle. So we could introduce password management tool if we have several applications in our space and people need to memorize several applications, because that's what forces people to want to write password down. And any password that you write down is no longer secure. If you must write your password down somewhere, it just takes somebody, even in your family, to pick it, knowing what he can do with it, and you start receiving alerts, bang, 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 if it has to do with your bank account. So we can introduce password management tool if feasible, and if we feel it is cost effective. That one can help us to manage password for our staff. Then there is also need to also have multi-factor authentication. The one I talk about around our WhatsApp, that I said introduce your email, that's a second factor. The first factor is that your phone number, they send a code to it if they're trying to hijack it. For the email, they can also notify you on the email. And that's why you see bank will send you an alert and also send you an email around it, so that if you miss if the system, technology does not deliver the alert, you won't miss the one that is coming through the email that this transaction has taken place on your account. Or if you are not the one, please quickly get back to us so that at least we can protect the remaining assets. So securing financial data involves strong password policy, introduction of multi-factor authentication. You know, this is an additional layer of security beyond just password, e.g. a one-time code sent to a phone. So around some sensitive information too, you could, if people are working in your organization, just like I've said, that people need to have access to sensitive information on need to know, need to use, need to know, need to use. We can write that down. If now somebody who is not in the normal line of that need to know, need to use, require access to that thing, you can design a form that person will use to ask for authorization and access to that information, so that if anything goes wrong, you at least you have narrowed the scope of the people that you need to relate with around it if there is any sign of misuse or breach. So you don't just let people in your environment have access to especially sensitive. I'm not talking about general information that most staff should have access to. But if you say, if you look at the data that you process, and the one that is general, you can say is public or open. The middle one, you can say is restricted. Then the highest level, the most sensitive, is called confidential. So for your confidential information, you know how your organization runs, you know your operations. So I want us to take that back, because you know you can only protect what you are aware. If you take all data as being the same, you are open to a possible future threat, especially if you have it takes just one bad guy in your environment to open you up to some of these cybersecurity threats. So you may need to be able to distinguish your data, or if you want to say sensitive, non-sensitive, if you want to use a two paradigm segmentation, you can say sensitive, non-sensitive. For the sensitive ones, if you are not in the loop of people who need to work on it, you shouldn't be having access to it. If we now must let you have access to it, let there be an authorization that on so day you have access to this information, so that if something happens later and you need to do a reconnaissance, it will be easy for you to know who had access to what and at what time. The next one around financial data is encryption. Just like I've said, if something is free, even if they say it is secure, remember, whatever is free that you are not paying for, you can't seek redress if there are issues there. That's the definition of free. Because even in Freetown, nothing is free. You can't get to Freetown now in Sierra Leone and say, okay, because it is free, I'm going to Hilton Hotel in Sierra Leone, in Freetown. That's where I'm going to sleep without paying money. No. So encryption. So as much as possible, pay for the version of whatever application you are using, so that if anything happens that is external to you, you can sue them. But if you are using the free version of whatever application you are using, if anything happens, you don't have a legal right. Because if something is free, remember I said you are the product. But if you pay for something, then the product is a service to you. So encryption is also a method of converting data into a code that is unauthorized. And that's what happens when you send an email. You know, when your email leaves, when you say send, or maybe you send an email with some attachment, while that thing is traveling all over the world before it gets to the destination, it is encrypted in transit. And when it gets to the other end, it's decrypted. So it is about to also encrypt both your stored data, financial record, and tax filing. You can create a password around some sensitive. You know, if you are saying something is sensitive, not sensitive, you can create a password around the sensitive data. Even if you are using Microsoft Office, there are ways in which you can encrypt data. But just be sure that you yourself won't forget, so that you won't lock yourself out of out of the data. But the idea is that if you are using the system of saying sensitive, non-sensitive, the non-sensitive, the sensitive should also be having some level of restriction around it. It shouldn't be an open or comma. So encryption is not necessarily that you go and be using a particular sophisticated system. It's just to understand how your operations is and be able to segregate what you feel you need to restrict one way or the other. It could even be a cabinet file. Maybe if you keep hard copy, that cabinet file, the key is with you, or the key is in a place where only authorized people can take it and access information from the cabinet file. So that's encryption. If you have a cabinet file that is under lock and key, that's encryption. It's not everybody that technology will be very massive in their operation. But around the traditional operation that you do, also use encryption as a tool. And part of it is that if you are using the two system of saying sensitive, non-sensitive, the sensitive information should be under lock and key. They should be inside a cabinet. It's a worthwhile investment. So that at any point in time, if anybody have need to use it, you are contacted, then you can determine the expediency of that request, whether it's justifiable or not. That's encryption. But when we now talk about encryption, if technology plays a crucial role in your activity, it comes by default in a lot of the applications that you use. You just want to be sure that you understand, if you are using technology to interface, that, okay, if I send mail, it leaves my stage encrypted, in transit it's encrypted, and when it gets to the other end, only authorized person logging into his email can decrypt it. So that if you mistakenly send it to an email that is wrongly spelled, if that email does not exist, it won't deliver. It will come back to you. Encryption is what makes those things happen. So it's important to encrypt both your stored data, data in transit, and data in transit with clients. Now, I mentioned something about our password. Let's take a look at this. If your password is 4 characters and if they are numbers only, instantly they can hack it. If your password is 4 characters and it's lowercase only, instantly, upper and lowercase, instantly, number and upper. So when we get this, the more important one is that 12 is where a relatively secure password starts. 12 characters made up of numbers. You see, 12 characters, if we look at 12 here, is 3,000 years if it's made up of number, upper and lowercase, letter and symbols. 34 years before they can hack it. 3,000 years before they can hack it. So the longer, you want to make sure that when you are doing your policy around password management, that people must use at least 12 character password. The password must have capital letter, lower letter, numbers. It must have characters, special character like $, hypersound, comma, dot, all those things for over 12 characters. That is the one that at least can guarantee you some relative, if they hijack that thing before they can hack it, if it's made up of that, it's 3,000 years. But if it is made up of numbers only and there are 12, in 2 seconds, there are applications that will reveal it and show it in open view. If it's made up of lower case letters only, 2 days, and they have resources that will be processing it until they say this is the password. So I just brought this here so that we can have an idea why we need to, cultivate some of these best practices. The second one is data access control and management. I mentioned this, that even if you are in a traditional environment as an accountant, you can still use file cabinets that is under lock and key, not one that is open to all. Even your planner, when you guys say you have finished, or before you come while it's cleaning, you can open it and have access. You want to make sure that data access control and management is in full swing in your environment. Part of it, which I've mentioned, is the RBAC. RBAC is role-based access control. That thing you have been hearing me say that people need to know something or need to know, need to use basis. It's role-based. I know a lot of audit practice may be one man and they are not structured. They are not an organization, so to say. You can just say they are like a one-man business. So roles are fluid. People don't have demarcations around what they do. But it's still very important, even if you are in such an organization, such an entity that is not an organization, so to say, where roles are fluid, you can still look at the financial data and categorize them into those two: sensitive, non-sensitive. The sensitive ones, just dedicate, you know, maybe either you take charge of that and pass the output to whoever needs to use it to continue their work, or you designate the team leads in your audit team to have access to those ones, process them, and bring out what they need from it. So that's role-based access control. Very important around protecting financial data. RBAC is a system where access to information is granted based on the user's role within an organization. An accountant might have access to financial data, but not an administrative assistant should. An administrative assistant should not. If somebody is in your audit practice, there is just an administrative assistant, he shouldn't have access to financial data. If his role is just to bring file, bring this one. And when you even talk about bringing file, if the person is like an administrative staff, your top clients, your clients that have sensitive information, and you want to keep their file in a file cabinet, maybe not in the normal environment where even that administrative assistant that is going to the store to go and bring file can have access to any kind of file and all kind of information. So the idea is that you want to manage information around financial data as best as possible, so that there's something we call attack surface. It's just like a table. The table you use in your office, you can put your teacup there, you can put your laptop, you can put some file, you can put several things. The bigger the table, the bigger the attack surface. That means all those things you are putting on your table, they are like agents. So if you are dealing with a sensitive information, you want to reduce the number of agents that can call on their service without authorization. I hope we are getting that. So let's move on. Data access and control, very critical. Role-based access control, I've told us, for those of us who are, but then if you are in an organization that is structured, of course, your role, even in your accounts department, is not all information that everybody in the accounts department should have access to. So you must be able to determine what information, even in the accounts department, if you are in employment, is sensitive, which should only be available to maybe the senior guys in the accounts department, so that the administrative assistant in the accounts department, if you need to discuss anything around those sensitive things, you don't just start communicating and create a man in the middle situation where the person, as an administrative assistant, if he gets to where he wants to relax later in the day, can say, if you see what my guys are discussing today, now wow, this country get as a deal. So we want to manage information in such a way that people have access to information or data, or to access to financial data on need to know, need to use, which is what role-based access control is talking about. Then we also want to do backup, so that if we have a hard copy of anything, we can also dedicate an email where we scan, or if we have an enterprise resource tool where we can scan copies of those files. In the event of, I know most organizations, most building, they don't have fire insurance. But if you have scanned most of the sensitive things that you need, if anything should happen, you can pick up from there. That's like a backup. So regular data backup to secure location, cloud storage. I know most people on your Gmail that you use to communicate, don't delete a lot of files. find a way, if possible, buy, if you are using the free, buy space so that you don't have to delete, because it's a backup for you. And it can help you in the case of disaster around the physical files. It's your disaster recovery plan. So if you are using if you don't have a website where you have a dedicated email, even if you have a dedicated email, your hosting situation can block you out. Copy your other email so that you have a backup. I'm just using that for people in practice. I know for organization, your IT, for organizations that are this structure, your IT is in charge of this, and there are regular backup of whatever you are doing. The third one is the third best practice is device and network security. You know, there's something called firewalls. Firewalls are just like the fence that you have in your office or in your house that shuts activity in your house only to authorize people, only the people you allow in through your gates. If somebody is jumping the fence, that's a breach. That's an attacker. So it's very important for those of us who have whose activity is small in the digital space, that we install firewalls, that our antivirus softwares are up to date. Please don't compromise antivirus. You know, the Oyibos that did every application also did the virus, and that's why they create a market to sell the cure for the virus. So please make sure that your antivirus updates is up to date. Keep your systems updated. That notification that says that by October, Windows 10 will no longer have support. Don't let us joke with it. If it's possible, let's migrate to Windows 11, because the owner of the solution is telling us by Windows 10 I won't support this. So if you start experiencing breaches or attack, there was a particular British organization, I can't remember now, that was still on Windows XP, even when Windows have said, I will no longer support this. But the cost of migrating, of upgrading, they felt it was too much until they were open for an attack, and they had a serious breach. So please, it's important, if you have an official equipment, equipment manufacturer, official solution manufacturer, telling us that by so time I won't support this. If you appeal on that, you are actually open for attack, because they have said there is no support for that again. So our antivirus, our firewall, I've told you what a firewall is. Around your activity, make sure that you have something like a firewall. It's like a fence that you have in a physical house, such that the accounts department should only be to authorize personnel only. You can put it there. For people in practice, you have a file cabinet. That's like a firewall, so that sensitive information is protected further, even in the office, even in the office complex. So also, if people need to connect to your enterprise environment remotely, you want to make sure that they are using a VPN. There are applications that you install it on the machine that they will be using. So if anytime they need to connect to your enterprise environment, they go through that VPN. That VPN is like a tunnel. You know, it's like a private tunnel, a protected tunnel, that they can be away from you working, but you know that when they are authenticated through that VPN interface, that's when they can connect to your resources. So the idea is that there is need to ensure secure communication channel between accountant, client, and financial systems, such that everybody is using a secure file sharing platform instead of email attachments. You know, instead of sending something by email, we could also use a secure. There are several platforms where you can just we call it FTP. It's a secure environment. It's like a workspace. You can drop large files there. Then people you authorize can pull it at the other end. Let's look at compliance and regulatory frameworks. If you have clients that have the EU operations, you know, they can be in Nigeria and be a part of a larger organization. You are bound by GDPR. So for people in practice, you may not only be bound by Nigerian data protection law. If your client has a parent body outside of the country, you could also be bound by GDPR. So we may want to study some of those things. Then for all US firms, you know, I believe we'll get to the stage where there won't be limitation to people we can work for. They are also under the Graham Legally Act for US firms. Complying with these regulation for the Nigerian Data Protection Law, it says consent must be in place, and then data must be processed in a way that that best suits the basis of the relationship. That's what the Nigerian Data Protection Law for accountants is, that accountants need to process data that they get from their data subject. Your client is like a data subject. So it's not expecting that breaches will happen in your custody while you are using those data to come up with maybe your final reports. Then if you also use third party to support what you do or to get to what you want to do by way of output, you should also sign those third party to non-disclosure agreements. That's under the Nigerian Data Protection Law for everybody, accountants inclusive. So these are some of the regulations. But I know for the financial industry, because it's a highly regulated environment, these things, they come by default in the law of what they do and around their training. Another thing that is good for compliance and regulatory framework, I mentioned it in the course of delivering this message, that people should have access. If it is not what you use in your normal listing, you keep an audit trail, create an authorization form, so that if somebody who is not in the normal loop of accessing a particular information will need it for maybe a one-off reason, you create an audit trail. So find a way to create audit trails, to keep a record of system activity, so that you know who is accessing what and when, and what exactly are they accessing, which files and when. You know, those audit trail, if issues happen, can help you narrow the people that you need to investigate down around breaches. We can't stress the importance of regular monitoring to detect and respond to any suspicious activity. If you have a website, you also may want to get your website provider, solution provider, to give you the kind of traffic that you attract. Are you attracting traffic from North Korea and Russia? Occasionally, you may ask that. Then when you ask them, if they say, oh, there are some traffic from North Korea, you ask them, what measure do you have to protect me? I don't have clients in that environment. So that's around your operation, you must begin to look at it from the angle of, do you have enough audit trails around the activities that we do here? If yes, who is monitoring it? Or do we have a need to monitor? How do we monitor? You know, when you look at your own peculiar environment around this audit trail and monitoring, you will be able to come up with very innovative and inventive solutions. Okay, proactive measures to build. Employee training and awareness, we're already doing that. So let's take some of this training away to other people in our organization, and we are training you. You have become the trainer, so that you can make people aware also, so that everything that can make the environment cyber safe, cyber secure. Training, you know, like I said in the beginning, that an environment is only as secure as its weakest link. That person that you believe is the weakest link, if it doesn't have adequate understanding and awareness, it will become the gate by which attack can happen. So continuous education on recognizing phishing, malware, and other threats that we have discussed, very important. Promoting a culture of cybersecurity awareness regularly within your team, very important. Employees are often the weakest link in cybersecurity, and that's why they must be trained. Encourage regular cybersecurity trainings, such as how to recognize these attacks, the use of multi-factor authentication, and securely handling of financial data. I've given us several. Even if you are not using technology, there are the lockup, the file cabinet under lock is like for secure, for sensitive financial data. It sends a message that something of value is there, so that you don't just mix things of value and the ones that are not of value together, so that somebody getting to your employment becomes an insider threat and it goes away with the one of value, and you start seeing those things where you least expect them to be. Maybe they use it to buy, to sell, just like they said there is a situation where they use UBA, Obasanjo's UBA statement to sell groundnut to him at one point. So incident response and reporting procedures. We also need to have that if things happen, we should have a simple plan. If things happen, please talk to your head of department. If it is a well-structured environment, let your head of department bring it to me as the MD CEO. Then what do you do? Immediate isolation of the affected system. For instance, if it is a virus, you want to make sure that you are not using whatever you are using to copy to keep copying from that infected system to other system. Reporting the breach to IT if it has to do with something around ransomware or whatever, so that they can begin to think of what to do. So the idea is that if there is a breach, or if we are looking for a file and we can't find it, let them escalate to you. Then it's of utmost important to have a clear reporting channel. For instance, what we have in the banking industry is that if there is any breach, cybersecurity breach, information security department, if it's coming through the branch, they bounce it straight to information security department. We have that flow. So whichever units you want to saddle with handling breaches, if at all, in this area, you may want to design a small plan so that people will know what to do when X and Y happens, and how to protect whatever is remaining so that the breach do not escalate beyond what naturally should happen. What are those proactive measures? Know your assets, like I've said. You can only protect what you are aware of its existence. Your financial data is also an asset. The client record in your custody is an asset. When you know it, understand what are the threats that this asset may be open to. You understand it. So this thing is like a framework for us. This page, that's page 31. Implement strong security controls around it. I've given us several. It won't apply in all situations, but you can pick the one that you feel should apply in your environment. Monitor security posture, then update your security posture. Those are key steps to identify gaps in your security posture and doing something about it. You know, when you identify gap, do not leave it open until somebody comes into your environment to exploit that gap. Block it. Thank you very much. We are now in question and answer. Floor is open for conclusions.
Thank you, Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo, for delivering a thought-provoking presentation. Your presentation is highly robust and is mind-blowing presentation. So thank you for this wonderful presentation. Before we go to the question and answer question fully, my own key takeaway from the presentation is just a summary of what Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo has presented to us. He mentioned that accountants play a crucial role for safeguarding sensitive financial data. He also mentioned that employees need to be educated and need awareness. And then he also mentioned that incident response planning for organization for cybersecurity breach need to be considered. And he also now mentioned key things, that is the consequences that cybersecurity for companies need to consider. Like, what are the consequences for cybersecurity breach? He mentioned legal penalties. He mentioned financial loss. He also mentioned reputational damage for company. He also mentioned theft for client information. The presentation is highly robust, very robust one, which we really enjoy. And also, he also mentioned the type of threats that a company can face, which we have insider threats and man in the middle attack. That one is just very detailed. All are very detailed. Thank you for this mind-blowing presentation. God bless you, Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo, for this wonderful presentation. We now, without wasting precious time anymore, because you have dealt with all the areas that is grumbling within my heart to bring a question. But we can't do without asking question. Please, if you have any question for Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo, please kindly raise your hand so that we can call you, so that I will pick the question one after the other. Thank you.
Tunji, hold on, before you go to the question and before you go to the questions, we have some dignitaries on the call whom we would love to recognize. Number one, we have Dr. Mrs. Temisope Babajide, the 23rd chairman of Ibadan and District Society. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you, ma'am. Also, we have on this call, we have Mr. Simon Awotoye, FCA. He's the technical secretary of Oliole and district societies. Thank you for joining us. Tunji, over to you for the question and answer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Temitayo. For the question and answer, I've seen some people that raised their hands in terms of to ask question. Let me call on Mr. Olani Dada for his question in brief one so that we can manage our time. Please, Mr. Olani, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, my moderator. And I want to appreciate the facilitator for the well-researched presentation. I appreciate you. Mine is not a question, it's just a contribution or a comment, Chap. Please, can we have the soft copy of this presentation? Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Olani,
this will be made available. It will be made available.
Yes, everyone who submitted their details on the Google form, we assure you around noon tomorrow, you will get the presentation via your emails. So if you have not submitted your details on the Google form, this is your opportunity to do that. Kindly register your details on the Google form and rest assured to send the presentation to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Olani. Mr. Sunday Ademola, please, you have the floor for a question, please. Please, kindly unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. I actually want to appreciate the facilitator. The lecture was very, very sound. And we also thank the organizers too, especially the technical
Please, kindly
committee.
speak up. We can't hear you clearly, Mr. Sunday. Kindly speak up, please.
All right, sorry. I said I want to appreciate the facilitator. It was well packaged and very enriching. Also to appreciate the people that put this together, especially the technical committee and at large, the Lagelu and District Society of ICAN. Thank you so much. My little question is just to ask. Number one is I want to know the difference between the password and PIN, because the facilitator said we should have a very strong password, not less than 12 characters. But we use 4 figures, which is 4 characters for our pins. Is there any difference between the password and pins? And why are we using just 4 figures or character for pin? And I want to say finally that some of the software or packages we made use of, for example, when we buy our laptops, there are some applications that come with the laptops. When we buy our phones, there are some applications that comes with the phone. How reliable?
Okay, I think we've lost. Do I respond to that? We'll wait for him to come back. Hello?
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, please kindly respond. Please go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay. Yes, the PIN is like other factor authentication. The 4 digit, the 6 digit, depending. It's taking that if you are using the ATM, because the resources in that environment doesn't support too much opportunity to create layers. That's why you use the 4-digit PIN for ATM. But for most transaction, most app now, either for me, I use the biometrics. At times I can use the password. Then when I get to particular levels of transaction, they send an OTP again to my number. So the PIN is like for single use environment, like the ATM. But the moment you are doing large volume, that is particular threshold, you know, there's also a limitation to how much you can even take from the ATM. So your PIN is for those low level transactions. If you are taking the financial environment, I'm just trying to use that example. But for where you need to use password, use biometrics, the moment you are doing particular transactions, biometric passwords will come in. And that takes us back to looking at every activity in our space and segmenting them into sensitive and non-sensitive. For the sensitive, you must have strong passwords. For the non-sensitive, it could be a pin. I hope I've been able to answer that, but I didn't get the second question well before you dropped.
Sorry, sir, it was network that logged me out.
Okay.
I was just asking about the second one is that there are some of our this thing that we buy, the laptop, the there are phones that comes with different applications and software.
Okay.
And we do make use of those applications. How safe are these applications for our use? Will there not be a compromise of our data? Also, do we have a contractual agreement with them that is it possible to sue? What are the damages? What are the way out from all this? We have Yahoo, we have social media, we have different types of applications that come with our gadgets. Thank you, sir.
Now, the idea is that, thank you for taking me there. I should really have mentioned, because I just did the maintenance on my own application. I went to look at on my laptop. I noticed that some guys, some application from startup, they're already using my resource. I had to go and audit them and remove authorization from every organization, every application. Don't start, unless I start you, don't start. So because there are several applications that are running at the background, those ones are the ones using our data. If you just notice that your data is going off, go and remove authorization as much as possible from. How do we go about it? This beyond the scope of this class. Maybe we'll create another session around that. How to look at who has right, who is using your laptop with you. Several applications are actually using your laptop with you, and that's why it may be slow. That's why you may realize that as you are booting up, some applications already active. Even when you don't have data, some application is telling you there's moderate traffic around you. How did he know? That means those ones are permanently alive. They are permanently looking at you. Now, the ones that are not system app, if you actually try to delete, there is something you can use. You can, let me see if I can't remember that now. But there is something you can do anyway to look at your temp. They are called temp files. So if you run CMD, if you are using the old system, you put in percentage temp percentage. It will bring a large temporary files. You can tell it to delete it. The ones that are system application there, it won't delete them. I just did that and I realized that my system is no longer slow when it's responding. So we may need to invest a little in our own education, and this goes to our phone too. Yes, any application, all those applications that came with whatever you buy, because it is free, you are the product, they are sending information back to their server. In fact, they are monitoring the whole of your activity, and that's why you will see at times when you are on Google, one advertisement will just come around something, and you'll be wondering, is this a wish? How did he know that I just researched something around this? It's because of all those applications that they load. Those applications are like men in the middle. It's just that some of them may not be malicious, but they are occupying space and they are using our resources. Because when you say you want to update, for instance, on your phone, when you update, for me, I do selective updating. I don't update all. I update the crucial ones. Whoever is having updates, on your phone, the thing we just say there are 68 updates. You wonder, which one am I using beyond WhatsApp, beyond my Gmail, beyond maybe Facebook? Why should I need to update several other ones? I now select. I do selective update. I leave those ones there until I determine whether I should even delete them. If they're not. So you may also need to invest into your education to know which application is crucial. You should be able to also dimension them into sensitive, non-sensitive. The sensitive ones are systems application that you need to have your system running. The non-sensitive are all those junk that they load along with your phone that you really don't need. So some of them, for phone, just look at the ones that you are not using. There is also a report on your phone that shows applications that you have not used in the last 365 days. Definitely you don't need it. So if it's not a system application, why not delete it? Because when you don't know what something is doing on your space, just like I mentioned at table, it could also be a map in the middle. Because if it's also saying it needs to update, that means it's gathering some information from that your space and sending it to a particular server. That's what it means. But that's a different class entirely, which is outside of the scope of this. But just know that if you have several applications that you have never used and they are sitting occupying space, there are men in the middle, just that they are not malicious in your space.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Omonijo, for the clarification and explanation so that we get it perfectly. Thank you so much. Mr. Sunday Ademola will recognize you. That's Assistant General Secretary for Ibadan District Society. Thank you for that lovely question. So it's actually throw more light to what we need to understand better. Thank you so much. So we need to recognize our Vice Chairman, Mr. Patterson. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much, Mr. Omonijo, for the wonderful presentation and the enlightenment you have given to us on the threat we face, particularly at this time that we are talking of digitalization and everything, working from home, working from anywhere. We appreciate you. The question I would have loved to ask first is what the immediate person just asked on the issue of PIN and password, because you go to the ATM, only 4 figures, only 4 characters, and they are all figures, numbers, and then the next day your transaction goes. And then the bank knows that these things are risky, yet they are not doing anything to upgrade it, to ensure that what we use to enter it is beyond those 4 numbers. Although you said the amount involved is not much, but to me, 200,000 can be much. That may be my monthly salary, and I may not want to gamble with it. So I think the bank should do something in that line to upgrade the number of required numbers, the character that we need to enter into our ATM records. Then the other one is this Google autosave. Whenever you are doing something, we say, oh, save your password automatically so that you can retrieve it where you lost it. Is that system, that method, is it safe? How safe is that Google application requiring auto-save of our password? How secured is it? Those are the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Let me take the first one. There are some ATMs now where you can use biometrics. So upgrade is already taking place so that it goes away, it goes beyond just the 4 pin. The 4 pin is the base of protection, which is relatively, if you don't compromise it yourself, it's relatively protected. But I know there are some organizations, some banks are introducing biometrics. I know First Bank, I think I've seen biometrics in First Bank, and I've seen it in some other, but not yet widely available. The aim is that authentication should be around something you own and something you know. PIN and password is something you know, and that you're expected to know, only you know it. So if you don't compromise it and you tell people to give you space when you are at the ATM, there is a normal space. If nobody is there enforcing it, please insist that the next person, because there are some bad guys that as you are pressing, they can know what you are pressing exactly on the ATM pin. So demand, you need to take personal responsibility for your own, because of cost and several other things. That's what we have in that space, in the ATM space, because that's the only place where I've seen people using 4 pin. If any other transaction on the app that you use PIN, you've already used either biometric or your password to enter, which is the first authentication. So using PIN is like a transaction authorization at that point, or using your one-time OTP, it's also like a transaction authorization. So I know some banks are already transitioning to biometrics, possibly to address the challenge of PIN that can be compromised, and anybody having the card and your PIN, the machine will know that it's not you. It will give the person cash. So, but I don't know how soon that may become widespread. More so that we're also looking at cashless. I'm sure it's not an area where a lot of banks want to invest because they may suffer a loss. You know, cashless, we are thinking digital. We are thinking that people should do more of their transaction through the other digital means, like the web, like the app. So we just need to take responsibility and manage that. Then for the Google Password Manager, that's like a password management tool that I mentioned. You know, Google also has a paid version. You can also pay. So if you use sensitive, if your clients, if you relate with sensitive things and your cost can carry it, as much as possible, Don't pass sensitive financial data through free emails. Pass them through, emails that you purchase, because that one gives you a legal right if there are issues. But for the one that we use freely on the Google, there is no, it can be breached though, and there is no, Google does not owe you any responsibility. So the idea is that if you are in an organization and you know that the volume of what you're relating with in the area of financial data is quite much, you want to have a paid email version, such that even if you save in those paid, you know that you have a legal ground if anything should happen to sue or to seek redress. But though, as much as possible, I also use the free Gmail for my password management. That's my password management too. But if you're in an organization, you may want to have an app so that people don't need to save into that free Google password management too. There are solutions that could also do the same thing that Google password management is doing. That is a paid version that is more secure. So for that, we just have to take responsibility and be careful of how we use how you use our email and the areas where we log in, because those are the areas, there are temporary files that are created every time you log into your Gmail on a new device. You must be careful, because we might also have downloaded all those things. So as much as possible, don't log into your email, either paid or free, on devices that are not your own, as much as possible. So for me, it's my phone and my laptop that I log into my Gmail. And definitely, if that thing is saying save this password, I can conveniently say it, because I know I'm the only one using that laptop. It's dedicated to me. Thank you very much. I hope I've been able to answer that a little, sir.
Very well, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Omonijo. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed this explanation clearly. Thank you so much for that. Let me call on Mr. Ayokunle so that we are rounding up. Mr. Ayokunle, please, you have the floor. Hello. Okay. In the absence of no response from Mr. Ayokunle, can we go to the next person? Prince Christian, can you unmute yourself and speak, please, to manage our time?
Sorry, thank you very much. The question I wanted to ask have already been addressed. That's the reason.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Great. That's awesome. That's awesome. So in the absence of no other question, because we have gone through our chat box, nobody dropped question on the chat box so that we can read to our erudite presenter. Then we'll go to the next on the agenda. Permit me to go to the next on the agenda.
Okay,
we're
sir.
going to the closing remark. Closing remark in the absence of no question. Closing remark by our Vice Chairman in person of Mr. Arimdigo Patterson. Please give us the closing remarks, sir.
Yes, Mr. Ayokunle, Omonijo, we sincerely appreciate you for this very incisive knowledge you've given to us on the threat we face as professionals in the course of carrying out our jobs for services for clients, even for ourselves. In fact, it's very agitating to know that even within we have threats, not to talk of outside. So you made the challenge this evening, and then you have encouraged us also to take more measures towards securing information we gather in the course of our work, even our own personal information, so that unauthorized users does not have access to them to use them to our own disadvantage. We are very grateful. We are very grateful because we did not make any mistake getting you to talk through this topic to us. It shows that the level of knowledge you have acquired over the years, particularly on this cyber security and other digital works. Want to appreciate you on behalf of our chairman, Chief Mrs. Omokemi Oladipo, who is the chairman of our district. Want to appreciate you, want to thank you. Also thank every other person, our dignitaries, the immediate past chairman of Ibadan District Society, our mother district, Dr. Mrs. Babajide, and every other dignitaries who are in attendance. We also appreciate you. I think there may be need, although depending on the ESCO and our chairman, for further talk on this thing, because he made mention of certain areas that due to time, he could not really talk about. And we need them as professionals in the course of rendering our services to our clients. We are exposed. People work, even till after COVID, people, we see, I have friends who are still working for organizations from home, from wherever they are, transmitting information. Data protection policy is there, yes, but is that enough? We still need more. So I believe we may call on you next time for this, probably on another area of this topic. We want to appreciate you and appreciate everyone who has sacrificed time to make it possible to attend this incisive session we had. And also to thank our technical team. Honestly, to put this together is not a day's job. I know, at least to some extent, the level of meetings they had, level of discussion they have, and the level of probably putting even the selecting somebody to take this topic for us. I know what they went through before the choice of Mr. Ayokunle Omonijo. We appreciate all of you. And God's willing, I believe that next month we have another insightful section. Thank you all and have a very wonderful night rest.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate that. Your closing remark is highly robust. Thank you so much, sir. We call on, we are going to vote of thanks. Mr. Damio Shutubo, the technical secretary, please give us the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adeshoko Latuji. Thank you with your co-anchor, Mr. Temitayo Adeyemo. On behalf of the technical committee and the districts, I want to thank everyone that has joined us on this call. We appreciate you. We do not take it for granted. We hope to see you next month by April 20 for another technical session. Thank you all and God bless you.
Let's go right and found of treasure in triumph of an array, standing stronger in harmony. ICAN's guiding lights, we pave that way. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. We are Lagelu and the streets, standing tall as one. With unity and strength, our journey has begun. Integrity, accuracy, guiding us each day. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. We lift each other up and we drive in Lagelu and the street. Every voice is heard. Together we stand, our bond is strong. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. We are Lagelu and the street, standing tall as one. With unity and strength, our journey has begun. Integrity, accuracy, guiding us each day. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way. Our beacon of light, never dimming, Lagelu and the street, guiding us forward. Believe in the power of collaboration, of every rebel shines through. We are Lagelu and the street, standing tall as one. With unity and strength, our journey has begun. Integrity, accuracy, guiding us each day. With ICAN's core values, we lead the way.
In Lagelu and District Society, we unite, we collaborate, and we thrive.